Welcome back, everybody. I'm so excited for you guys to be here with us this week. I have a very special guest with us today, and this is Britt. So I'm going to kind of introduce herself a little bit, and then I'll let her introduce herself. So, Britt is a 40-year-old single mom of three residing in Apex, North Carolina. She is a survivor, proud woman in recovery, and powerhouse in the wellness industry. Once homeless and hopeless, she escaped an abusive marriage with nothing but her children and determination to rebuild. Today, she stands as a beacon of resilience, using her journey to inspire and empower women to reclaim their health, happiness, and wholeness, especially those on the path of recovery. With 22 years in the wellness industry, dating back to the days of Bailey's Total Fitness, Britt turned her psychology background into a mission to heal others, become a personal trainer, fitness and nutrition specialist, DNA-based trainer, group fitness instructor, Pilates instructor, and yoga instructor. Her expertise has guided over 10,000 clients worldwide, offering science-backed, sustainable strategies for lasting transformation. A prolific author, Britt has published 23 books on health, fitness, and nutrition, helping readers simplify wellness and create meaningful lifestyle changes. Her latest work, She Rises and Thrives, Loving Life in Recovery, is a powerful guide designed to help women heal and find joy beyond their struggles. As a proud woman in recovery, Britt is on a mission to help others rise above their circumstances and embrace the life they deserve. Through her books, coaching, and speaking, she continues to inspire women worldwide to step into strength, self-love, and lasting wellness. Britt is more than just a wellness expert. She's a mentor, motivator, and advocate for women seeking transformation. Her work continues to touch lives, proving that with the right guidance, every woman has the power to rise and thrive. I absolutely love it. When I read your bio, I was like, I have to read all of this. Like,
Yay, me too. Thank you so much.
yes. So, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and share anything you'd like to share before we get into it?
Yeah, so I mean, you pretty much covered it all. So I'm Britt Brandon, and yep, I've been in the health and wellness industry for over 22 years, and just like you said, like from the early days of it, like a long ago chain, called Bally's Total Fitness. It was just across the street from my college, and because I had anxiety and I shared my room with a roommate that I didn't know. I was
Right.
always over at the gym and they were like, "Do you want a job?" And that's how it started. And then my nutrition component started when I was pregnant with my daughter. And I had like this awesome insight as a result of we went to a midwife appointment one day and she was like, "Everything looks good." And my husband was like, "She is eating so much spinach, like a concerning amount of spinach." And she was, and the midwife was like, "Oh, you're anemic." And I was like, "I have how are the two even related?" And she was like, "Yeah, your body's seeking out nutrient foods to help fix a dysfunction." And sure enough, I was anemic, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, my body is amazing that it knows how to do that." And so I was on a mission after that to just learn as much as I possibly could on how to harness that for good. And then, 22 years and 10,000 clients later, here we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
So, how young were you when you left your marriage?
So I got married when I was 21 and left that marriage in 2016. So I'm 40 now, so 35.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You
Yeah.
stayed in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we tried
Well,
to leave. We tried to leave a few times and it was just really clear that that was not going to happen. And
yeah.
so it actually wasn't the way that things happened when we finally were able to leave. It wasn't long that we were gone that he actually tried to break into our home, or did break into our home on Christmas Eve, and assaulted, like, almost, it was pretty bad. He hospitalized somebody who was in our home right in front of our kids and everything. And so he was arrested, and after that situation, he had to go to jail. He served prison time. So that allowed us to leave, and then we were
Wow.
safe. Yeah. And it was, I
Wow.
mean, talk about a godsend. That evening is like, it was traumatic, but it was the only way. I still look back and think there's no other way that we were going to be able to be out of that situation and safe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, praise God, because
Seriously.
I mean, I've been through my own abusive situation, and I do a lot with women who have been through abusive situations, and I serve on a nonprofit where we help women to get out of
It's hard.
abusive
Yeah.
situations. So, when I read that in your bio, I was like, "Whoa, like God brought us together for a reason."
Seriously, I'm telling you, when I said that I felt like we were in such alignment, I really did. Because and it comes up all the time. I mean, so even last Friday, I was actually on the phone with a client, and she had just been with her family for over a month, and and I was like, how is everybody doing? And she was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot to tell you. She found out that one of her close family members had been in an abusive marriage for 20 years and had just gotten, and she was like, we had no idea. And she was like, how could we have no idea? And I was like, oh, I'm covered in chills just thinking about it. And it's like, everybody thought that we were like Barbie and Ken with these three perfect little cherub kids. And it was just this like insane situation within the four walls of our home, but it didn't leave the four walls of our home. And it was chaos. And even when we did try to leave, like there was one time we had a moving truck in the driveway and he came home. I was trying to move the kids out and he came home and shot our moving trucks out with a shotgun, the tires out with a shotgun. And it's like all of these different things that were, kind of like huge red flags. It was just like, even to other people, we would downplay it. But then in our own home, it was like, how is this ever going to be able to not be this way? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I completely understand what you mean. I own a whole cafe, and nobody knew what I was going through at home. Like, it wasn't until I had a bruise on my chin that one of my employees noticed, and she asked me, and I couldn't even hold it back anymore. I just like lost it. And she was like, "We need to figure out how to get you out of this situation." So
Yeah.
like 2 months later, I was able to leave, and yeah, but
Fantastic. Yeah. And
it
you almost need, you have to have a cat. Like there has to be something. I've never talked to anybody who was able to like finally go without, having something that acted as the catalyst, whether it was
mhm.
somebody noticing and saying something and you were like, I can't even hide this anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you were able to get out of that situation, and you're here today, and you're rising, and you're thriving,
Thank
and
you.
yes,
Ditto.
absolutely. So, what really was like your step to recovery after that? So, I know you had your fitness, I know you had your nutrition. So, how did you go about like recovering not just yourself, but I mean, your kids probably had to recover as well?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of, so at first I was totally leaning on alcohol to just numb everything because it wasn't
Mhm.
even just the leaving, it was after we left it got even worse. And then I mean culminating up to that night of Christmas Eve. I mean, it was just chaos. It was absolute chaos, so loud, so noisy, and it was like there were so many times that I was like, I wish I just hadn't even left. Like this is so much worse and crazier for the kids. And,
Yeah.
and the kids were little at the time. So my oldest was in fifth grade, and my youngest was 5. So it was 10, 7, 10, 8, and 5. And they were fully aware about what was going on beforehand and then after. So it was almost like leaving to them was a positive, right? So at least I didn't have to worry about that. Like, you know, I know some people have to worry about, if I leave, it's going to be terrible for the kids. To me, it was only positives, and for them
Right.
the same. So that worked in our favor, but it was just mayhem after that. So I turned to alcohol, and then in the most amazing way possible, like not even, like most people get a DUI, like doing something crazy. And mine happened in the middle of the day. I was literally cleaning my house and like drinking wine, thinking that I didn't have anywhere to go, anywhere to be, nothing to worry about. And we were in the process of like of applying for a house, and the realtor called me and was like, we have another person, another applicant, and she's like right head to head with you, and we need to have this documentation, can you bring it to me? And I got a DUI. And so it was that
Wow.
that was what I viewed initially as like this absolutely horrible experience was the most amazing thing that could possibly have ever happened to us, because I was put in
Wow.
contact with people who helped me have tools that weren't even about, I mean, alcoholism and any kind of addiction is such a symptom of underlying issues. And so
Mhm.
it was the first time that I had been exposed to people who were listening to like what my story was, because they were like the first people who I had talked to who were like, this is a symptom of something bigger. So let's talk about the something bigger. And that was what helped. I mean, I had been holding that back forever. Like I had not
Wow.
ever had open conversations about that. And then all of a sudden I was literally thrust into this series of, you know, situations with people who that's all they wanted to hear about, so that it was like, let's start healing. And then it was like, oh my gosh, this is what the problem is. And that's why my heart goes out to so many women who are in recovery, because it's like, we need to start the healing. Like there's all of these things that we kind of start like thinking about, like we just have to move forward, we just have to move on, we have to, not think about it, put the blinders on, and like, pick up ourselves, pick up our bootstraps or whatever, and just
Yeah.
keep moving
Be
forward.
independent women.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is such a recipe for disaster, because it will come up. I had somebody, and it was so funny. I was just talking to one of my clients about this a little bit ago, and she was talking about how she was talking with a counselor about why she needed to be in control all the time.
Mhm.
And so all of a sudden, like all of this stuff had come up about something that had happened 2 decades prior. And he was like, yeah,
Wow.
we need to talk about this. And she was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't need to. And that's the thing is, if we're not going to take care of it, it will come up in some way, shape, or form at some point. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's where resentment comes in, and then we hold on to it, and then unforgiveness, and then we start feeling icky, and then yeah, it's this whole cycle that if we don't take care of it when it happens, and maybe we can't take care of it when it happens, but if we don't go back to it,
right.
kind of like you said,
Yep.
and resolve it that way, like it ends in it's a recipe for disaster.
Yep. Absolutely. And it's just like, that's such a great point. Like, a lot of the time we can't deal with it in that moment. Do you know what I mean? Like for a
Mhm.
year, a solid year. And I write about this in the book. I literally, like, even my parents talk about it, and I talk to my parents every day. They were like, we didn't hear from her for a year. I shut it down.
Wow.
I was like, this is me, my kids, and that's it. Like, and my faith. Like, it was literally just like prayer every day. And we lived in a gated community. Thank goodness COVID happened, and we were literally just kind of like isolated. And we grew
Wow.
stronger, as I call us the Four Musketeers. Like we grew
Aw.
stronger in that time, not only as a result of everything that we had been through, but we healed together. It was like we finally had quiet for the first time. And
Wow.
it was like we were able to take deep breaths, we were able to sleep, we were able to just like have peace. And I mean, it was absolutely wild, but processing things at that time, like we're only scratching the surface of some of it now, because we're
Right.
just now able to, have open conversations about, do you remember this happening? And my youngest is like, I don't remember that at all. And it's like, the brain is so amazing at just being like, we're not going to remember this. Like,
Right.
this is we're gonna go into self-preservation mode. Like, no.
Yeah. How old are
Yeah.
your kids now?
Amazing. Absolutely thriving. So when the second I got the chance, and I had to go through, the court processes and everything in terms of being able to have permission legally to get them out of the state, but I moved immediately. And it was like we just needed a fresh start. We needed a
Right.
clean break, because before that, we couldn't even go into like our local grocery store or Walmart without seeing somebody who knew what had happened and asking like, how, I mean, it was just like reopening the wound just over and over and over again. So,
Yeah.
I got permission to move. And so that was 4 years ago. And you would not believe, like, we see a counselor, or I do. The kids are like periodic whenever they feel like they want to talk to somebody. But
Yeah.
it's so awesome, because he's like, I can't believe how secure, stable, and resilient. Like, the kids are so good, and they love school,
Wow.
and they love, sports and work. And I mean, just everything. They're such awesome kids, and everybody's
Aw.
so happy. And it's like,
Wow.
you value you have to trust your gut, I think. Like if you really feel it put on your heart that you're supposed to do something that's going to allow for your healing, whether it's eliminate, I talk about this in the book too. Like we have to respect what we need to do for ourselves. And if that means like getting rid of relationships, it's really sad, but some people don't serve us anymore. And, we have to put ourselves first.
Yeah,
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah.
Did you always have like a relationship with God during this marriage, or did this come afterwards?
So I always want I say this with my mom all the time. Like I had when we'd gone to church like all growing up, and I always saw people with their hands outstretched, and I was like, I want to feel that. Why don't I feel that? I'm here. I want it. Why don't I feel that? And
Mhm.
so there was this one day before everything happened, before the break-in happened, and I went to go pick up my daughter. I was on my way to her friend's house to pick her up and called the dad and was like, "Hey, I'm on my way." And he was like, "Oh, her dad already picked her up." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy." And this had been happening, whether it was from school, like whatever. And so I called and I was like, you know, do you have her or why? And he was like, yeah, and I'm going to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And if you think that you and your bitch lawyer can do anything about it, just give it your best shot. And I literally turned my car around, went home, went into my kitchen and hit my knees and was like, I'm so exhausted and I'm so worn out and I don't know what to do. And this is not going to work. And everything that I had been trying was not working. And it
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, I'm covered in chills just thinking about it. I literally felt like the weight of the world, and it sounds so cliche, but
No, I
anybody who has experienced that, it's like, and everything, it was so crazy because it was like, I mean, I was exhausted. And there was a bottle of wine that was like on my countertop, and I was like, I could drink this whole thing. And I mean, that was the moment I just hit my knees and was like, I just need your help. Please help me. And everything got so much worse, but it was all the catalyst that we needed. Like, I mean, it is absolutely amazing to like think back and upon
oh,
reflection, see how these perfectly placed, like I call them divinely designed,
yeah.
incidences that just set us up for success. And every minute since then, it's just been me and God and these three kids. And it's been
Wow.
amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Wow. Oh my gosh, my heart is just so full. Like I completely understand what you're talking about. Like I had an instance one night. I was just like so tired. I felt like I was so far from God. And this was recently. Like this wasn't even like during my situation, but I felt like I was so far from God, and my husband just kept telling me like you need to pray. Like I'm going to leave you. Like you need to pray. You need to like read your Bible, do what you need to do. Like you need to figure this out. And I just remember like I had so much turmoil in my body. Like I just felt horrible. And I just remember like crying and like literally shaking in my bed. And all I said was, God, I need you. Or no, no, no. I said, Jesus, take this away.
Mm.
And literally in that moment, I sunk into my bed, and like it literally felt as if I stopped crying, I stopped shaking. It literally felt as if he took that from me. So like when I say I understand, I completely understand what you're
Yeah.
saying in that moment. Like and that
It's amazing. It's amazing.
it is. And
Yeah.
I loved how you mentioned like you everything that you were doing did not work. Like
Oh my gosh. It was
it's
such a
not it's
disaster.
not
Yeah.
on us.
It's not. And it's like, and it's so funny because there are tons of times I'm definitely a, type A control freak. Like I feel like I can do whatever I need to get done best. And there are tons of times that I will try to pick things back up. And it's like, as soon as things are like, why is this not working? It's like, oh yeah,
Not for
let's just
me.
let's just give this to God. You know what I mean? And then things start to align and things start to, and you have those aha moments or those ideas. And it's like, we have got to get out of our way and let God do the work. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I do think just like, we were talking about in terms of getting out of those really traumatic situations, it's like something has to happen that that light bulb has to go off, that it's like, this is not working,
Yeah.
and like I really need a miracle here.
Right. And I
Yeah.
loved how you also said like it got worse, but that was God preparing you for like the best thing that could have ever happened. Like
Oh,
sometimes
absolutely.
God allows these things to happen so that we can turn back to him and he can pull us out and then he gets the glory. Like he gets the glory for getting us out of those situations.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no, and it's so funny because you almost can sense it while it's happening. Like even when I got the DUI, it was like, oh my gosh, like please, like I like let this be the beginning to something beautiful. Like it was not a fear thing, it was a more of a faith thing. Like this has to work. Like this has to
Right.
be the beginning of something that's going to be getting us in the right direction, and it so was. I mean,
Wow.
and you could feel it. I could feel like it felt like everything was hard and everything took so much effort. But it was like the more I leaned on him, the easier it was on me. Like the more possible it is to go through things when you just lean on him just completely, like whatever, I can just keep putting one foot in front of the other and just
Yeah.
know that whatever this is, because like I truly do believe God does not waste our pain. Everything that we go through has like those little gems of wisdom in it that it's like,
Mhm.
okay, okay. Because now I look
Yeah.
back on that time. I mean, even today, I think that if it hadn't been for that time where we were just like, just alone, that just the four of us, like constantly. I mean, it was, we had a community pool and it was, we would be at the house, walk down to the pool, you know, the kids would swim. I would take care of whatever I was trying to take care of to just make sure I was like dotting all my I's and crossing all my T's. And then and then it was like back to the house. And then if everybody was like stir crazy and we needed to get out, we'd redo, you know what I mean? But it was just the four of us. And it was like whether we were walking or swimming or biking or whatever, it was just the four of us. And we were in the safety of
Wow.
our little neighborhood. And it was just like, I mean, I don't know. It's his plan is so much better than anything that we that we can kind of devise. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, like his power works best and his strength works best in our weakness.
yeah,
And so when you were saying like in those times where I mean you probably felt so weak, so defeated, but yet his strength was carrying you through it all. His
absolutely.
strength was empowering you. And I love that even in that moment of getting a DUI, you still had faith that he was working it all out for good because he tells us that like everything works out for the good. And that's just oh, so amazing.
It really is. It's amazing. And I really wish that people would look back for, if we take the time to really reflect on our past to see those blessings, because sometimes they really are wrapped up in terrible situations. But
Mhm.
when we look back and we really get to like see and celebrate, like, oh my gosh, that was such a divinely designed
Yeah.
blessing. Like there's no way that that wasn't, that wasn't him. And the more we
Mhm.
see those and thank him for that, I feel like it's like this
He
self-perpetuating
continues to
cycle
show
of
us.
creating more blessings. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's like a blessing machine. Yeah.
Yes. No, that is amazing. I love that. So, what do you feel like has been like what part of recovery do you I know you talk about like faith, food, fitness, like kind of take us through what that looks like for you in sense of recovery. So like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So each played such a huge role. That's why like I had to pack each one of these into the book because I thought, I mean, if you think about it, right, food nourishes our body, our brain, our spirit. It's like, everybody's been on a diet and felt like that hangry. Like to me, that's like it's soul crushing.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
it's like if we can focus our foods, if we can focus our diet on foods that are really going to help us heal, that is such a huge component. I mean, I work with people all day, every day, and emphasize the importance of nutrition. And it's
Mhm.
80% of the game in any goal that you have, whether it's to
Right.
lose weight, gain weight, build muscle, fight inflammation, combat chronic illness, whatever it is. 80% of the game is all nutrition. So
Right.
to focus there to me was like the perfect way to even start the book. But for myself, that was one of the, first things that I took on myself was like, holy cow, I know I've probably done a lot of damage, not only trauma, because we know that that's just,
Right.
it wreaks havoc on your cells.
Stress.
And then,
Cortisol.
yeah, they've done studies where if you yell at a plant, that it will die within like 30 days. If you yell at a plant, like it kills cells.
Wow.
So, yeah, to be in an abusive situation with having that be your, experience day in, day out
Mm,
is intense. So I knew we needed
yeah.
cellular repair, like on even the most basic level. So food, and not only, foods that nourish, but also really being careful to eliminate anything that was just going to, be toxic for my body. So it was, eliminating toxic foods or processed foods, and then anything that just I really let my body lead the way. So it was foods that I was craving back to, when I was pregnant with my first and started having those spinach cravings, all because my body needed iron. So I really just let it lead the way, and it was amazing. And my body changed so much over the first like 12 months of my recovery, and it was wild to watch. It just everything. My skin changed, my hair changed, I
Wow.
had this like gritty feeling for the longest time, and I couldn't get rid of it, and I couldn't wash it off. And that went away,
Wow.
and it was awesome to be able to see all of these different components that I started to adopt and implement, because fitness came next. And that, by talk about another like grace of God kind of thing. The kids, we were on our way back from the pool one day, and there was a treadmill that was out at the curb, and the kids were like, we want a treadmill. And I was like, we can't afford a treadmill. And they were like, well, let's drag this one home. And it was literally like probably 3 houses away from, our little townhouse. And so I was like, you can drag it home and see if you'd plug it in. It worked. And so the kids played on it for like a day. And I include this story in the book, but it literally was life-changing for me, because I had been going through these nights of no sleep, just complete sleeplessness. And I'd wake up, panicking and covered in sweat, and just, it was
Wow.
awful. And so at one morning or one night that I had woken up in the middle of the night, I walked downstairs, and there's this treadmill, and it was like this like heavenly light shone on this thing, and I got on it and turned on a Joyce Meyer sermon and walked for like an hour, and then was able to like have rest. And then
Wow.
I just repeated that over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And so fitness became a piece of the mix. And so I had the food and the fitness. And then it was fun became next, where it took about a year. But one of the days that I took the kids to the pool, they were all laughing and playing around. And I had always sat on the sidelines, and for some reason, I had this thought, like, I just wish I could take a deep breath. Like, I've been wanting to just be able to take like a deep breath. And I quieted my mind like I was meditating. And there's all of this mayhem going around. I've got my sunglasses on, and I'm wrapped in a towel, and I'm sitting there, and I just took this huge deep breath that I could feel like down into my fingertips and my toes. Like, it was the most
Wow.
cleansing breath. And like I exhaled, and it was like all of this muck was just released from like my body
Wow.
and brain. And I got up, and I was so excited, and I jumped in the pool, and it was so fun to be able to start having fun with the kids. And so it
Oh,
started there.
wow.
And then I finally felt free of like, so much. And then the fellowship piece didn't come until later, where, after we moved, I made new friends who didn't know about my past and got to know me for me. And then they became, aware of things as we talked, and, things came to light and whatever.
Right.
But it's just amazingly supportive. I have an amazing church that again was like so divinely designed, that it was so
Wow.
wild that we found this like incredible gem of a church. I had been looking for a church group that I would be able to have as like a night that I would be able to have just me. And I found the most amazing, incredible group. And it's
Wow.
just been this slow, development of things that I needed for my body, mind, and soul, that have all kind of culminated in this incredible recovery, where I literally wake up excited to take on the day, and go to sleep at night and sleep so well, and just love everything about what's going on.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's amazing.
Thanks. Thank
Yes,
you.
I absolutely love that, and I feel like, oh, I'm just so excited. I'm so grateful, one, that God connected us because, like, we relate in so many different ways, and it's truly divine how He brought us together. But I just to hear your story, it's I don't even have words. Like I'm just like in awe of like what God has done in your life and how He's brought you out of that situation, and truly just how
He's amazing. It's
He
beautiful.
shaped your life to have this free life, and this is available for anybody, honestly, like,
Yeah, everybody.
and
And that's the other thing that is so mind-boggling is that it's like this is available to anyone. Like we don't have to
mhm,
do anything. You literally, it's like we just need to go to him like tiny children, like please just help
help
me. And
us.
yeah, yeah, like I
Yeah,
can't do this on my own. And it's like I think I think we've gotten into like this tizzy of you know like I had a client read the book and she was like, I love the book, but I didn't like the part on faith. And I was like, oh, that, and I even preface that chapter by saying, this is not me trying to convert anybody, but I feel like it's really important that I share my story. And it's
100%.
that
Yeah.
if it touches your heart or makes you, have a desire to find Jesus, like more power to you, but I don't ever want anybody to feel like I'm pushing it on anybody. And so I
Mhm.
think people who are like almost, you know, I don't know, like burned or hurt by feeling the sting of judgment from, religion, it's like that's not what God wants. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
and I feel bad. I mean, but again, I don't doubt that it's his design in some way, shape, or form that some people are, supposed to find him in a different way. And so it's like
Mhm.
I mean, I'm
Right.
hoping that I can help. That I was saying that's my goal. I just want to be able to bring as many people to Jesus as possible. But at the same time, I don't ever want anybody to feel like we want, anything for them other than
Right.
peace and love and,
The
all
fruits of the
positive.
spirit, gentleness, kindness, self-control, peace, patience, like, these are the things that we want you to experience,
Yes.
and it's so funny that you said that because the reason I was, like, a little late to the call was because I was on the phone with my friend who was, like, having a conversation with her sister who was literally questioning her on all of this, and, she was just she had mentioned something like that about, I feel just because you have a relationship with Jesus, like you think that's the only way. And this is why I don't go to church. And I feel like you don't like the things that I do, or you don't like me because of the things that I believe. And it's not that we don't, it's actually the complete opposite. If we didn't like you, we would be going against what Jesus tells us to do. Like,
Yeah.
and what I told her, I was just like, Jesus Jesus welcomed everybody. He I mean everybody. He met
Yeah.
the woman at the well. He any other person who didn't believe, like even the Pharisees,
I
like
was just gonna say when he's sitting with the when he's sitting there and have is it in Matthew and the Pharisees are like, "What are you doing? You can't
mhm,
be eating with prostitutes and these people,
and
and
sinners,
the tax
yeah.
collectors and everything." And he's like, you know,
I didn't
This
come
is where
here
I
to
belong."
heal
Yeah.
the healthy. I came here to heal the sick.
Yes.
And that's just like those characteristics of Jesus are how we're supposed to show. That's why Jesus came down to show us what it was like to live a life of love and of kindness and the way that he intended us to live. And we're not shaming you for the things that you believe, but I'm also going to share with you the truth and what it's supposed to be. Like, I love how you said, I'm not here to necessarily convert anybody, but I feel like I need to share the truth and my story. And that's what God calls us to do.
And it's like in hopes of making your life easier. Like if I didn't, just
Hmm.
like you said, like if I didn't care, if I didn't care, I'd keep it to myself. You know what I mean? Like my life's amazing. I don't need to do anything to,
Right.
make it any more amazing, but I can, share that with other people who are hurting. And that's my goal. Like, anything that we can do to just help hurting people. And I feel like there's so much hurt right now. And
Right.
I feel like I almost feel like we didn't come out of COVID in the isolation sense. Like, I feel like everybody went remote. So now everybody is home and everybody is within the four walls and everybody is, it's like it's like a self perpetuating thing, which is wonderful. I love working at home. I love being able to have, so many more things that are kind of, able to make our day more productive. But we can't lose sight of like, we're all connected. You know what I mean? And it's like
Mhm.
we are only as strong as our weakest link. And it's like we want to be able to make sure. And I feel so bad. Like, imagine that sense of judgment that your friend's sister is feeling. And it's like, that is not at all, like,
Exactly, and that's the enemy, like, he's trying to twist like,
yes,
that's literally what he does, he twists everything to make
yes,
you see it the completely opposite way that God intends us to see it, but we have to take the scales off of our eyes to be able to see what God is trying to show us, because,
yeah,
like, the enemy puts those scales on, and we're living in this world who is full the world that is full of, like, everybody's trying to attack somebody.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we're not trying to
No,
attack you,
it's
we're
and
actually trying to show
in
you
that world,
love.
yeah, and that world is such a sad world compared to the one full of love, where everything is done and said out of love, you know?
Mhm.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, you feel attacked by everything, you feel judged by everything, you feel like you have to defend yourself in every situation, like, I don't have to defend myself anymore, like, God is my defender. God
Seriously.
like
Yep. And you know what's funny is I was at a networking event to support one of my friends on Tuesday, and the whole way there I was like, oh my gosh, this is the last thing I want to be doing. It was like past my bedtime. I didn't know anybody there. I was like, this is crazy. I can't believe I'm doing this. So I get there. I had the most amazing time. But my biggest takeaway, which of there were many, but the biggest one was I was on my way home, and if you would have wound things back like 5 years, I would have been riddled with anxiety in that moment. And the one big thing that I noticed between like pre finding God and post is I do not have anxiety anymore. I do not have that insecurity about who I am,
Yeah,
about what I'm doing, about my worth, because it's not about me anymore. Do you know what I mean?
100%, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's so good.
Yeah. I love it.
Yes, so is there anything else that, like anything else that you would like to share in regard to anything that we talked about today?
I mean, I would encourage everybody to have faith in themselves. Like, just know that you are so loved and you are so capable of healing and of transformation. And
Yeah,
I mean, the healing powers of God can just be unleashed in your life in so many incredible ways that are beyond. Like, I look at my life now, and this is literally beyond anything I ever imagined. And I mean, there are parts of my life that these are what I prayed for, but the rest of it is just like so many cherries on top. It's crazy. And so
yeah,
that's a huge piece. But also, I would just encourage everybody to like try to nourish your body, mind, and spirit. Like the six components that I mentioned in the book: food, faith, fitness, fun, fellowship, and sleep are so insanely important to just being able to have like the peace in your life that you need in order to even hear yourself and get to know yourself. And I
mhm,
mean, do everything that you desire that you might not even know that you desire yet. Do you know what I mean? And so
yes,
it's like it's just awesome when you start trying to just focus on healing yourself one step at a time, even just baby steps. They
yeah.
make for major transformation.
Seriously, that's so good. I love that you said nourish your body, mind, and spirit because that's literally our mission at the cafe. Our mission is to,
I love
um,
it. I love it.
wait, now I can't think of it. Our mission is to cultivate a vibrant and thriving community by nourishing the body, mind, and spirit to help others find their divine purpose.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yep.
What a mission statement. That is a powerful mission statement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you said that, I was like, wow, that's literally
See, more
everything that,
alignment. More alignment. There it is.
yes, yes. Well, we always close out with a Bible verse. So the one that you chose is Romans 28. We know that in everything God works for good and those who love him. And I believe I even talked about this earlier. Like I was saying how God works everything out for the good. And this was the scripture that I was talking about. So, I mean, through this episode, you can hear truly how God works everything out for the good. Did you want to share kind of why you chose this Bible verse as well?
Oh, I feel like that's such a I mean, we're in the process of having it turned into a tattoo. Like that's how much I feel like this it's just it truly is. I mean, and all like just like we talked about, it's like whether you want healing or strength,
Hmm.
like just like you were saying, when you do not have this strength, you can find the strength in him. It's like everything is worked out for good. And we just
Yeah.
have to have faith and that's it. That's literally it. That's it.
Yeah. I got
Yeah.
mine tatted on my arm.
Oh
The
my
scripture
gosh, I
that
love it.
yeah. It's she's clothed with strength and dignity and she laughs without fear of the future. That was the verse that saved my life and got me
Oh,
out of my situation. So I prayed
let's
that
see.
over.
I had that on a screensaver for the longest time.
I literally it was like one of those like text messages things and it was like a text message from God and it was like you are clothed with strength and dignity and you laugh without fear of the future.
Oh,
And I would look at that and I'd pray that over my life every day going to sleep like laying next to this guy, but so like so full of anxiety, so full of turmoil, just praying like God give me the strength, God give me the strength.
yeah.
Like and 2 months later I was out and like it's
Saved. Yeah.
yes, this scripture literally saved my life. So
It's so beautiful. I love
yeah.
it. I love it.
Yes. Well, I've absolutely loved having you here. If you want to connect with her in any way, I will put all of her information in the show notes, her Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, website, even her author page on Amazon. So you can check out any of her books. Like I mentioned, she has 23 books and she is certified in so many different things. She has a wealth of knowledge. So if you have any questions, I'm sure she would love to help you in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you so much for having me, Stephanie. I really appreciate this.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Thank you again.